Regular viewers to this channel have probably noticed that the Aeronca hasn't featured for a couple of months. This isn't by design. I've had several trips organised through the summer, none of them have happened due to poor weather. The last one was up to Popham in Hampshire to meet up with a load of friends at the LA rally, but poor weather in the West Country put pay to that. I only cancelled the trip on the evening before I was due to depart. The airplane was in the hangar ready to go, fully fuelled. I was going to drop my kit at Bodmin, buzz over to Bodmin, pick up all my kit, camping gear, extra fuel, etc., and then head off for Popham. But it was no good. There was 20 knots of crosswind at Roach. It just wasn't worth going. However, early the next week the weather improved. It was perfect for something I'd meant to do for a while. That was to try and measure my worst takeoff performance on the uphill runway with at least 60 degrees of crosswind and a full tank of fuel. I'm sure there's a way of using a GPS to measure the takeoff roll, but I didn't bother. I just used milk containers. For those with a weakness for statistics, the runway head's 330 degrees, the wind was 270 degrees, at 10 maybe gusting 15, temperature 22 degrees centigrade, and the pressure setting 1020 millibars or 30.12 inches of mercury. She lifted off somewhere between 250 and 275 metres. I was holding her down until the airspeed was pretty good. As all chaps know, it's never worth pulling it off too soon. If you're wondering about the apparent misfire during the takeoff roll, it wasn't a misfire at all, it was bad editing by me. After buzzing around for a bit, I headed back to the airstrip. The wind was straight down the westerly runway, 10 knots or so. I'd set the milk container markers at 25-metre intervals. That was an easy 125-metre landing roll, with a steady headwind. I immediately repeated the takeoff test, but I didn't edit the film or put any captions on, so it won't sound like both magnetos are failing. But as you'll see, the takeoff roll was near identical. For this landing I came around to the northwesterly runway with its 60-degree crosswind, and instead of trying a three-pointer I went for a wheeler, pretending I was flying a DC-3. Today the wind was from the southeast. Newquay were giving 150 at 13 knots when I started up. It was an ideal wind to try the southeasterly runway direction and get the best possible takeoff performance instead of the worst. The choke of the Amel carburettor sticks out of the left-hand side of the cowling. It's best to poke it in after 30 seconds or so, but one has to hang on to a flying wire, just in case. Just for the record, temperature was 20 degrees centigrade and the pressure 1013 millibars, 29.92 inches of mercury. I lined up abeam the mode corner of the turning circle on the southeasterly runway. The distance from there to the trackway is exactly 105 metres. The runway slopes up in this direction too, but even so, with a full headwind I was often about 110 metres. I don't know why the camera vibrated so much. I'm still messing around with positioning it, but it seems a little more vulnerable to vibration than the old plastic mount, although the plastic mount broke, which wasn't good. Of course I buzzed around for a bit and then I headed back to the strip and landed in a southeasterly direction. Look at the wind turbines. It was pretty bumpy low down. I didn't bother trying to land in the shortest distance possible. I know I can land the aeroplane fairly short, but on a day like today it was more important to do a nice smooth landing. I like to try these things twice, just to remove handling anomalies and the effects of the occasional gust. That takeoff roll was about 120 metres. It's probably no great surprise to see that slope, wind direction and fuel load up to a point have a massive effect on the takeoff roll on such a low powered aeroplane. I'm not sure what's causing the camera vibration. The new mount has a slightly longer arm than before. Maybe that's just enough to upset the equilibrium. Experimentation will continue.